The global effort to get goods to store shelves this holiday season could be slowed by a drought affecting the Panama Canal, one of the world's key shipping routes. The canal connects the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, allowing ships to avoid sailing around the tip of South America. 40% of all U.S. container traffic passes through it. Senior national and environmental correspondent Ben Tracy shows us how a lack of rainfall has created a crisis at the canal.
The Panama Canal is one of the world's most successful shortcuts. About $270 billion of trade each year rides on this ribbon of water, leaving very little room for error.
Panama is the route.
Boris Moreno is the canal's vice president of operations.
I've never walked across the Panama Canal.
Yeah, it's an experience.
He says 2/3 of canal traffic is either coming from or going to the United States. But that flow of goods is now at risk because this 50-mile-long system of locks and lakes that connects two oceans is actually above sea level and doesn't run on ocean water.
No, it's fresh water. From our lake, Gatun Lake, that's man-made.
So you are reliant on rainfall.
Yes.
And generally in Panama, that happens.
It's one of the wettest countries in the world. But this year has been an unprecedented dry season. Our lake levels are close to the minimum.
Severe drought is drying up the lakes that feed the canal, plunging water levels so low they've had to cut the number of vessels passing through from 36 to 24 per day, delaying goods and creating a growing waiting room of ships out at sea. Some vessels are also being forced to carry up to 40% less cargo and slow down so they don't hit bottom.
We are really looking for fresh water.
Ricarte Vasquez Morales is the canal's administrator.
The Panama Canal uses about 2.5 times the amount of water a city of the size of New York uses every day.
Every day? Wow.
Moving a single ship through the locks takes 55 to 125 million gallons of water, depending on its size. Much of that is flushed into the ocean, but the Canal Authority is now trying to store and reuse as much of it as possible. It's considering diverting water from other rivers and building more reservoirs because the lakes feeding the canal are also the main source of drinking water for nearby Panama City.
How concerned are you about the long-term viability of the Panama Canal?
That is my main concern. We are climate dependent. So this issue of climate change to us is real.
Climate change is making the tropics hotter and dry spells longer.
Here comes the rain.
Here comes the rain. Thanks God.
Except for this sudden downpour, we saw very little rain when we visited in August. Panama just experienced its driest October since 1950.
Well, for us, it's very concerning.
Antonio Dominguez is a managing director for shipping giant Maersk, the largest single user of the canal. He's worried Christmas merchandise could be impacted if the drought drags on, and shippers are forced to use longer routes.
So the things we buy are going to be more expensive if this whole operation slows down.
More expensive, and they will be late.
Are you seeing climate change impacting your operations around the world?
Everywhere. Everywhere you have climate change impacting global commerce, and we need to do something about it.
The international shipping industry is part of the problem, responsible for about 3% of planet-warming greenhouse gas emissions, about as much as Japan. Maersk is aiming to cut its emissions in half by 2030.
Your industry is a big contributor to climate change. Climate change is making a drought like this worse.
Yeah.
Do you have a responsibility to address this problem?
Of course, we need to move faster. It's not a time to start wondering what to do. It's a time for action. Time for action is now.
Because in shipping lanes like the Panama Canal, time is also money. For CBS Mornings, I'm Ben Tracy in Panama.